Well, for time's sake, do you want to go ahead and get started?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. And on behalf of the Columbus Empowerment Corporation, Small Business Development Center, SBDC, the Columbus Urban Leagues, Miss Bree, and the Central Ohio African American Chamber of Commerce, we would like to welcome you to Innovate, Upgrade, and Dominate. Our speaker this morning is none other than Mr. Randy Gerber, founder and principal of Gerber LLC. A little bit about Gerber LLC. It's a professional services business focused solely on improving the business and overall happiness of first-generation entrepreneurs. His holistic approach integrates clients' personal ideas and aspirations with their business, life, and financial goals. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Randy.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for having us. I appreciate it. Thank you, Annie, who you don't see, who helped once again put this together, the program, and thanks to Allison and Liz for the connections. Happy to be here today and talk about what we think the future looks like for business and in this crazy and different period of time, but a time that I really do feel is filled with tremendous opportunity. And I do feel that as it relates to the where we are in American history, the amount of innovation that's happening right now in this country is surreal. And I think that for businesses and entrepreneurs and frankly individuals that embrace it, it can change their lives, change the world, tremendous opportunity. I think change is here for a while. You know, that it's interesting when you talk about a year ago, so many people were disrupted in their lives and jobs. They were forced into it by COVID and state, governors and government policies. And all of us were forced to accept change in some way. And here we are a year later, and things are slowly opening back up. And I don't know what normal is anymore, but things are going in some respects, business-wise, seem familiar, right? But I also think what's really happening is people, individuals are really aligning with, do I want to have the same job I did a year ago? Do I want the same environment? And I think you're going to see continued change, but it won't be forced change. It'll be change by choice. I think we're in for an extended period of time of change. So with that, I'll dig into the presentation. And probably the best thing to do is if you can send your questions to the chat, and I'll get to them certainly at the end, and depending if I see them or not, I may deal with them right when they come up. So just, but please send your questions. So bear with me. Okay, so Kim, I'm going to ask you, you see the first slide of Innovate, Upgrade, and Dominate. Is that right?
Okay. I do, yes,
right.
Thank you.
Okay. So kind of along the lines of what I just talked about in terms of change, from a long-term historical development of human beings, we look at the left axis, it's a Human Social Development Index, and the bottom is time, right? And you look at where we are with human social development and the worldwide human population, the last 2,000 years, we're living in the elbow of a boom in population and a boom in the evolution and social development of human beings. And I think that we're in a further acceleration stage right now that is historic. And as it relates to business, is one of the harsh realities, and this is America historically, if you go back and look at the history of America, that it was a bunch of entrepreneurs who left Europe and to start a new, better world. And as time's gone on with America, we've had creative destruction of businesses where you don't see very many horseshoe companies anymore, as an example, or wooden wheel companies anymore. Whereas at one point in time they were prolific. And we're in this environment again right now where old economy companies they have a lower return on assets and lower return on equity. They typically have higher leverage. They require more money to be borrowed in order to grow, and they have inherent limits to market dominance. So, whereas new economy companies, and we've had just a lot of innovation in the last 20 years. Think that Google didn't exist, and I mean, Amazon's over 20 years old, but they've certainly become bigger. And Tesla didn't exist 10 years ago, and Zillow, or not Zillow, I'm sorry, Zoom, is 9 years old, and they're enormous, right? But anyway, new economy companies have higher return on assets, lower leverage, and digital fosters dominance in spaces. And this is, this slide is almost a year old, and actually it's wrong because it's not enough. But the amount of money spent on artificial intelligence is accelerating at an accelerating rate, and there's so much automation that is getting embedded everywhere and anywhere. So old line businesses and new line businesses, and this type of technology and spending is going to change the world as we know it. And in some respects, it's scary. I understand that and agree. In some respects, it's super energizing and interesting. The harsh reality is it's not stopping. It's accelerating. And there is so much money. Pre-COVID, there was tons of money sitting on the sidelines in venture capital firms and private equity firms and strategic investment firms that was really looking for a place to invest. And COVID exposed so many problems, so many opportunities. I mean, think about the whole pharmaceutical and biotechnology business. That's changed forever. I mean, the FDA's approval process around drugs is changed forever, and you'll see much more of innovation come out of pharma companies in the near term and on a permanent basis. But anyway, we're going to see innovative technology change for a long time coming at an accelerating rate. And kind of just, a harsh reality, you look at the end of the year last year of 2020, you add up all these airlines, these mainstream airlines, their market capitalization was $67 billion. One company, now it's 10 years old, $136 billion of market cap. And also the number of people they employ is somewhere around 4,000 people that didn't exist 10 years ago. So, I mean, you're seeing more and more companies like this, and it's just not stopping. And we're always going to have airlines. Always may be a big word, but for many, many years, we're going to have airlines. But they'll look different and feel different, and transportation will be different on a go-forward basis. Another staggering statistic to me that is the turning point is last year was the first year where there was more money transacted on digital wallets than actual cash. And I think this type of technology and this type of, this doesn't even begin to talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's here for good. It will become a mainstream currency. It's going to, businesses at some point, I don't know if it's a year away or 2 years away, you'll be able to go into a coffee shop and pay in Bitcoin if you want. You can already buy a Tesla with Bitcoin if that's what you want to do. But I think that this is going to change how we do business and have innovation for a long time to come. Weekly telemedicine appointments. So March of 2020, there were 13,000 telemedicine appointments per week. A month later, there were 1.7 million per week. Now there's 20 million per week. So you had 10 years of growth happen in 1 month. And so you think about how this changes medicine, that you may pay a subscription service to the Cleveland Clinic, as an example, and live anywhere in the world and get good care via telemedicine. And there's, now there's devices that are coming out that you can, while you're on your appointment with your doctor, put it on your wrist or prick it, and they can get a temperature reading, what's going on with your blood, does an analysis and sends it to the doctor, right while you're talking to them within 10 minutes. So again, there's tremendous innovation happening. I won't spend much time on this, but the fundamental issue, last year was a record year for automobile sales. So think about, one of the most expensive purchases you make in your life is a car. Last year, 10% of people who purchase cars never stepped foot in a showroom, ever. They purchased a car online and it was delivered to their house and they never test drove it, but they bought it. And, if Tesla's been doing this for years, well, since they started. I know last year we bought a Jeep Wrangler that literally we never stepped foot in the showroom. It was delivered to our house. This is good old fashioned American company and Jeep. So you'll see, consumers are going to demand changes of how they consume. And if they're doing it with vehicles, they're going to do it with everything. So the moral of the story is this, that look at the adoption of e-commerce. So in 2010, 6.4% of the American population used some type of e-commerce. Last year, it was in fact about 30%. So for those of you entrepreneurs in the audience, this is important, that no matter what your product or service is, you're going to see more and more business conducted via e-commerce. In fact, I was talking to a guy yesterday who owns a brewery, and part of their whole experience is people want to go to the brewery and experience being at the brewery. But they've now they have contactless payment, contactless reservations, so they can go into the brewery, order all their drinks, order their food, and never really, they don't need to have a server. They can be all, and they want another beer, you order it on your phone and it gets delivered to you. So it's, it's just, even the most fundamental businesses are changing. And again, it's here to stay. And, part of what the messaging to all you entrepreneurs is you're going to have to adopt it. Now, do I think there are some businesses, will some people want to go to a restaurant the way they used to, where they sit down, have a paper menu, and they have a server? Of course, that's not going to go away. But I think people are going to want more and more choice of how they consume. And e-commerce is absolutely going to be part of it on a go-forward basis. As I mentioned earlier, the development of vaccines. This is going to be a permanent change. I know that we're all COVID focused because of the pandemic, and now it seems like we're going to have annual booster shots. But I think because of what happened with the FDA approval process, and frankly, it hasn't been modernized in the better part of 40 years. Now it's modernized. You'll see more and more medications come out quicker, that are more effective and address more issues. And so, the whole, not just vaccines, but just in general, biotechnology is going to have some long-term benefits we'll talk about here in a second. As mentioned, the blossom of AI here for good. And with that, part of the AI is a tech health innovation, that all these wearables, so the combination of wearables that tell you about your heart rate, tell you about your blood pressure, tell you about your blood type, tell you about your blood chemistry, and then the artificial intelligence that goes with that, and then the connectivity, which we'll talk about in a second. We're going to know more about our health all the time, which means other people will too. But again, it's going to change in how we behave, where we go, how we get there. Are we going to have a vaccine passport going forward? Interesting social problem, and don't have answers for it. But again, there's going to be change that would be inflicted upon us still in some respects. And as you as an entrepreneur have to be thoughtful, like is there an opportunity for your business, or how does it impact your business? And with this, a connected world, the age of artificial intelligence and connectivity, we're just at the tipping point here of factories connected to farms, connected to roads, connected to stores, connected to call center agents, and all with, 10 trillion miles being driven per year, and people conducting business all along the way. And it's happening at a very, very fast rate because of 5G. So if you go back and look at the history of cell phones that, in the 80s, you had 1G, which is basically voice only. And then in the 90s, you had voice and texting and voicemail. And then 3G came along, and we actually in the early 2000s had mobile web browsing. It wasn't very good, but you could at least look at web pages. And then the acceleration of 4G with mobile video, which now, my kids can't go 10 minutes without looking at some video of some sort, right? And now we have 5G, which is again at a tipping point coming out, where the power of 5G is so strong. You have total immersion of data, and so you go from 10 megabits to 100 gigabits. It's a leap. And so when you get back to this connectivity here, what has been will accelerate at a rate we have not seen, and it's going to be here so quickly. And because of some of the problems we have around vaccines and viruses, you'll see more and more change to our day-to-day experiences that we have. So, and looking at it visually, the rate of change is so quick. And it's and again, as a business owner, we have to be acclimated and accustomed to adapt to this change. And it is scary and maybe even frustrating, but also a harsh reality of what we're about to experience. So, and it's not just the private sector, but it's the smart cities. So it's going to be the automobiles talking to the roads and talking to the stop signs and stop lights and parking meters that come with everything. You're going to see more and more governments adopt this, and so and they expect this to happen very, very quickly. And the spending that's going to go with it is because it's going to reduce errors and reduce labor costs and give people more transparency of what's happening. So some of it is scary, but it's here and it's not going to go away. So the question is, what do you do as an entrepreneur? What do you do? I would say one thing not to do is nothing. I think that as an entrepreneur, you have to ask yourself, what are the possibilities, and let yourself in some respects dream and imagine, but what are the possibilities? And the other big one is ask your customers what they want. And I think this is really important to ask your customers, what do they want? Also be aware they may not know what they want. And so, and so many times, you as an entrepreneur, you're a visionary and you're thinking, you're thinking, anticipating what customers want and maybe educating them to what they want or what experience they want that's different. But I think it's really important to get feedback what they want. Ask your employees what they think. One of the clear changes that's happened in the last 12 months is that, as leaders of your organization, you went from being the chief executive officer to the chief empathy officer. And I think more than ever, employees are really critical. What they think, what they want matters more than ever has before. They're part of the solution. They're part of the fabric of your culture. And they view themselves certainly more important than they ever have in the past as well. And then start developing a plan and keep in mind that this plan is probably going to be, it's going to change. It's going to evolve. It's going to morph as time goes on, because we're living in a very dynamic time in our life right now, a very dynamic, innovative time. So the plan you have today may not be the plan that works, or it's the same plan, I should say, in 3 months or 6 months or 2 years. But I think it's a constant evolution of developing your plan. And then communicate to your employees, communicate to your customers and clients, communicate to your stakeholders, what is the plan and how's it changing? How's it evolving? What's happening? One of the things we did absolutely, witness firsthand ourselves last year was those that communicated simply did better, right? And communicated during complicated times. So as an entrepreneur and as the shareholder or the primary shareholder in your company, this really is what your responsibility is on a go-forward basis with driving value in your business. And a tough one, change your perspective. And I mentioned this at the beginning. We all, again, change was forced upon us, starting in March of 2020. And whether you liked it or not, you had to change. And it also forced innovation and maybe even inspired some innovation. I think a lot of restaurateurs last year they were forced to innovate, and they actually then took it as inspiration to change and have different dynamics to their restaurants and businesses they had in the past. I really believe, with a strong conviction, 2021 and beyond is an opportunity where you get to choose. I think that you get to choose how you want to innovate. You get to choose how you want to evolve and change. And I think with that, your employees are going to choose too, that you're going to see more and more people align themselves with employers that they feel more comfortable working with. And it's not a judgment on good or bad, if your employer is good or bad, but rather I think alignment is going to be more critical than ever. And I think embrace that, embrace that change, embrace that alignment, because you want people on your team that are aligned with you in terms of how you see the future and what happens. And so to me, while it may be frustrating and scary as some of this has been, this is a real opportunity to grow your business and take advantage of, and people are accepting a change, right now. People your clients and customers are willing to accept change because they're used to it. And so embrace that. And, it's funny, as we were putting this presentation together, we asked ourselves, what have we done? What have we innovated last year? And, the first thing we did was we developed an asynchronous learning product that we, wasn't even a thought or idea prior to 2020, but we developed it in May, June, July of last year. We've engaged Salesforce to automate routine service functions. And we're in the middle of that right now, middle of the implementation. And it's pretty remarkable, not only the automation that comes with Salesforce, and Salesforce is one tool of many, but also some of the artificial intelligence that comes with it. And we created an internal production studio that we didn't have before, and upgraded the talent of our team. We did it with one less person. And of course, like everybody else, we had to change our technology environment to allow people to have flexibility to work from home or work from anywhere. We certainly improved our flex time policy and now have a work from home policy that we didn't have a year ago. We changed our technology environment from captive to open, which has had enormous implications for us. We've done more of these webinars than we ever have before. I think last year and this year we've done more than we had the last 10 years combined. And then we're equipped to meet people virtually or in person, which I know everybody does that, but for our business, it was a major change. And now we embrace it. Doesn't matter to us which clients want to come in, which clients want to do it via Zoom or some other technology. It works. So even a firm like ours, which is traditional from a process perspective, we were able to have tremendous change. Again, initially forced upon us, but as time went on, we embraced it, and we're now choosing to do it. So lastly, connect with us. As Kim mentioned, we do work exclusively with first generation entrepreneurs. We have 2 programs that for people to engage with us. The first of which is our traditional professional service firm in Gerber. And we work with companies that on average are about $45 to $50 million of sales, and help them grow their companies with purpose, aligning what they personally need to maintain the life they want to maintain and live the life they want to live, and align that with the company and the growth rates and how you pay people and how much risk you take and how you capitalize the company. Excuse me. In our emerging entrepreneur experience, this is for companies that are $300,000 of sales to $1 million of sales. And the idea here, it's a 1-year program that it helps companies go from where they are to try to get them to be a $3 million gross profit company. So you're in a forum with 10 to 15 other entrepreneurs who are not competitive. And we go through the sequencing. It's once a month for 3 to 4 hours per month. And here's what you do first. Here's what you do second. Here's what you do third. So, constructing core values, how to finance organic growth, how to maximize operating profits, how to manage your culture deliberately. How do you engage with advisors and advisory boards and mentors and things like that. So there's 9 group sessions and 3 one-on-one sessions, and it's a 1-year program designed to get you from where you are to a path to $3 million of gross profit. So feel free to look on our websites. And at this point, are there any questions? Kim, I don't think
Randy,
there's any.
I do have one.
Okay.
I actually do have one for you. Adrian asked, all companies are starting to move online and get into the online space. How do you think increasingly e-commerce-based companies can differentiate themselves from what is increasingly an online market?
That's a really good question, and a really important question. And I think that, number one, I think you'll see a new round of innovation around how e-commerce companies will differentiate themselves, and it'll be in ways that we don't expect. More than ever, I think that the brand development, how you brand yourself and your brand positioning will be more pronounced, because there's so much attention, when you're getting on social media, you're getting hit with so many different pieces of information that it is harder more than ever. I think that is a part of the experience, the online experience. The more niche you are, the better. The more specific you are, the better. Because people are going to look for specific products and services, and you're going to have to own that space. I think, unfortunately, competing with the Amazons of the world will be virtually impossible based on scale. That you're going to have to differentiate your experience through being niche and also super innovative in how you engage your customers. I know it's not a great answer, but I think it's one of these times that specific issue is one where there's, how you differentiate yourself in e-commerce. That is where there'll be tremendous innovation the next 12, 24, 6 months, where those really clever companies will figure out how to do it and not only engage you once, but keep you engaged for good. Great question, and really important question. Any other questions, Annie?
That's all I've gotten so far. If anyone has any questions, please leave them in the chat feature.
We'll give it one more minute here. All right, Kim, seems like that might be
There's a new message coming in. Looks like a couple new messages.
All right. From Andrea, she asks, we are in a niche market and find this has launched tremendous growth. Please go over sales.
So Annie, I didn't quite, you're breaking up. Is there a way I can see the question directly myself?
Yeah, be right in.
Can't hear you. Oh, the chat box on there?
Yeah. So this is the one I just read.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. Oops. So Andrea asked, we're in a niche market and find this has launched tremendous growth. Please go over sales. Yeah, I mean, it very much is going to have impact, on sales, and that's one of the challenges that we're going to have. Salesforce Suggestions. Any Salesforce Suggestions? So I'll read the question now in entirety. We're in a niche market and find this has launched tremendous growth. Please go over to Salesforce Suggestions. I will tell you what you can automate through artificial intelligence. You should. And again, I know we're implementing Salesforce, so I'm familiar with that, but I'm not promoting Salesforce as a solution for everybody. I think that those type of tools will help automate a lot of the functions of sales, so you can do more with less. Most businesses still need some type of conversion process, and so you can train your people to be focused on a smaller niche, because automation will help close more and more of the business and also follow up after the fact. So I do think this is one of these times that you investigate, and the cost of automation has come down so much. It's staggering how much it's come down, frankly, in the last 3 years even. So my strong advice for you, Andrea, is to try to automate as much as you possibly can. Great question. Alan asks, does this program work for construction contractors? Absolutely. We've had 10 forums, or I guess we're on our 10th forum, and we've had several construction companies go through. So it very much works. And again, if you're just trying to get to be a $3 million gross profit company, it really is powerful. It does work. See if I have any other questions. Any other questions? Okay, so I think that's it. Kim, again.
Well, Randy, I just really like to thank you again for sharing this information. And excuse me, I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of your day to attend. I did forget to ask if this information was forwarded to the attendees. Annie or Randy?
Kim, you broke up. I didn't hear you.
I forgot to ask if the information will be forwarded to the attendees.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of your day, and thank you, Randy, for the information. Thank you, Annie and Allison, for just organizing and connecting everyone. And I guess before we sign off, 1, 2, 3, if there are any more questions. Otherwise, you do have Randy's information, and I would highly suggest you take at their website and really give some thought to the services that can be provided to you, and at the least take those steps that he discussed, and really just stopping to think about, assess what's taking place, and talk to your customers and speak with your employees and put a plan together. Yep. With that, if we don't have any more questions,
like we're good.
Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.